Our hearts, they search for connection. They yearn for a touch, a glance, the promise of a love that transcends the ordinary. But what if that love was born in the shadows, under a veil of secrecy, a forbidden dance between two souls destined never to truly meet in the light of day? And what if the woman who stole your heart was always hidden, not out of shame, but out of a desperate need for protection, leaving behind only the memory of her voice and the melody of her laughter? This is the story of a love that blossomed in anonymity, a tapestry woven with passion, sacrifice, and the poignant beauty of what could never truly be claimed. In a city where luxury met loneliness and dreams were built on the bedrock of old money, lived Alexander Thorne. His name echoed through the halls of power, an industry titan, a man of mystery, and a presence as imposing as the glass towers he commanded. But behind the polished facade, Alexander carried a burden, a quiet solitude that all his wealth couldn't fill. In a more modest corner of that same city struggled Chloe. An artist by nature, with a vibrant heart and a sensitive soul, she found herself trapped by circumstances that demanded sacrifice. There was no time for brushes and paint. There was only the need to survive, to protect the little she had left from a past that haunted her. Her vulnerability was a double-edged sword. It made her empathetic, but also incredibly fragile. She worked tirelessly, and one of her recent assignments led her to one of the city's most exclusive charity events, a masquerade ball where identity was a game, and anonymity a freedom. That night, the air was thick with anticipation. The ballroom shimmered with golden lights, the murmur of voices muffled by masks that hid faces but revealed a simmering curiosity. Chloe was there, not as a guest, but as part of the organizing staff, ensuring every detail was perfect. Her mask was simple, black velvet, chosen not to impress but to protect, to be forgotten. It was then that their eyes met, or rather, Alexander's eyes found hers. He stood in a corner, observing the crowd with an intensity that seemed to see beyond every disguise. His deep blue eyes locked onto Chloe. There was something about her, perhaps the way she moved with an unexpected grace, or the quietness behind her mask. Alexander, rarely given to such impulses, felt inexplicably drawn. He approached, his presence casting a soft shadow over her. An enigmatic beauty, even beneath the veil. Chloe felt a shiver. His voice was like velvet, and there was a depth to his eyes that disarmed her. She tried to pull away, but something held her. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, sir. A slow, captivating smile formed on Alexander's lips. And my eyes see something quite extraordinary in you tonight. May I have this dance? She hesitated. Her mind screamed at her to refuse, to keep her distance. But her heart, her heart whispered something else. She saw in him not the billionaire, but a man who in some way seemed as lonely as she was. And so, beneath the glow of crystal chandeliers and the protection of masks, they danced. A dance that wasn't just of bodies, but of souls, of an instant, inexplicable connection that defied all conventions. Alexander didn't ask her name, nor did she ask his. Anonymity was the perfect canvas for this unlikely connection. That night, Chloe's world opened to a possibility she never knew existed. And for Alexander, a spark ignited in a heart he thought had long turned to ashes. They exchanged a few words, silent promises to meet again at the same time, in the same place, far from the world's prying eyes. Their meetings became a sacred ritual, always under the cloak of darkness, always with their masks. Chloe, to her surprise, discovered that Alexander wasn't just the cold magnate the media portrayed. He was a man of depth, with a passion for art and a vulnerability he reserved for few. He spoke of his dreams, his fears, and listened to Chloe with an attentiveness she had never experienced. Chloe, in turn, shared fragments of her own life. She spoke of her passion for art, of the color she saw in the world, but never her name, her true identity, or the shackles that bound her. The mask was her liberation, the veil that allowed her to truly be herself, without the weight of her past or the judgment of society. It's funny how darkness can allow us to see more clearly, isn't it? The absence of external light forces us to look within. Yes. And the mask doesn't hide, it reveals. It allows the soul to speak without the inhibitions of the face. They talked for hours about everything and nothing, each meeting deepening the invisible bond that united them. The physical attraction was undeniable, but it was the connection of their minds and hearts that truly mesmerized them. Alexander found himself falling deeply and irrevocably. He fell in love with her voice, with the sparkle in her eyes behind the mask, with the intelligence and kindness that radiated from her. He fell in love with a woman without a name, without a known face, only with the pure essence of who she was. I don't know who you are, but I feel like I've known you forever. My heart recognized you. Chloe felt the same. The love for Alexander bloomed in her chest, a feeling so powerful it threatened to break down the walls she had built around herself. But fear was a stronger chain. The fear that her identity, if revealed, would destroy everything. The intensity of their love grew with each encounter, but with it, the pressure of the secret became overwhelming. Alexander began to crave more, to want to see the face behind the mask, to know the name that belonged to the voice that haunted him. Why the secret? Why this barrier between us? I love you, mask or no mask, name or no name. I want to see you. Chloe felt the pain in his words. She yearned to tear off the mask, to throw herself into his arms and reveal everything. But the consequences were something she couldn't ignore. Her identity was linked to a dangerous past, to a debt that haunted her, and to the protection of a loved one. Revealing who she was would not only put her at risk, but also those she held most dear. You don't understand. My secret isn't about you, it's about me. It's about what I've been, what I'm forced to be. Her words were vague, but the pain in her voice was palpable. Alexander, though hurt by the refusal, tried to be patient, but doubt began to creep in. There was something more, something she wasn't telling him, and the lack of trust began to erode the foundation of their secret love. External pressure also began to surface. Alexander, a prominent man, was constantly under scrutiny. His family, his business partners, all expected him to maintain a certain image, to marry someone from his own social sphere. Their secret meetings, though well hidden, were not entirely invulnerable. Chloe, meanwhile, was being blackmailed. A shadowy figure from her past had discovered her meetings with Alexander. This person, driven by envy and malice, threatened to expose Chloe and, by extension, their relationship, unless she did something unthinkable, betray Alexander. On a cold, rainy night, Chloe found herself at an impossible crossroads. The blackmailer demanded she leak confidential information about Alexander's company, information that could irrevocably harm him. Refusal meant the exposure of her true identity and a threat to her family's safety. There was no choice. With a broken heart, she planted the information, a forced betrayal that destroyed her from within. She knew Alexander would never forgive her, that he would see this as the end of everything. And in a way it was. When news of the leak broke, Alexander was devastated. The betrayal was a direct blow to his trust, to his empire. And the timing of the betrayal coincided with the last meeting he had with the masked woman. The truth in his mind was clear. The woman he loved, the woman of his secrets, had betrayed him. She used my love. She used me. It was all a sham. Chloe knew Alexander would think the worst. She saw him from a distance, the pain in his eyes, the anger in his posture. Her own pain was excruciating, but she knew there was no way to explain, not without revealing everything and endangering her family. She chose to disappear, taking with her the secret and the grief of a lost love. Months passed. Alexander became even more reclusive, his trust in anyone shattered. He drowned himself in work, in rebuilding his empire, but the emptiness in his heart persisted. The image of the masked woman haunted him, a ghost of a love he believed to have been a lie. Meanwhile, Chloe lived a life in the shadows, haunted by her choice. She continued to protect her family, but the emotional cost was immense. Her art, once a source of joy, was now a constant reminder of what she had lost. Fate, however, had other plans. Alexander, seeking the truth about the leak, hired a team of relentless investigators. They scoured every lead, every scrap of information, and what they uncovered was shocking. The true culprit, the blackmailer, was finally exposed. And with him, the full story of why Chloe had been forced to act that way. The recordings of threats, the evidence of coercion, it all came to light. Alexander received the dossier, his heart pounding as he read. The masked woman, his Chloe, had not betrayed him. She had been forced to do so to protect those she loved. Her betrayal was not an act of malice, but a sacrifice of love. She sacrificed herself. For me. For her family. I misjudged her. Shock gave way to an overwhelming wave of regret and a renewed determination. He needed to find her. He needed to apologize. He needed to explain. Alexander used all his resources to find her. The search led him to a small art studio, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the city, where Chloe's traces revealed themselves in every brushstroke, in every color. He walked in, and there she was, her back to him, painting with a quiet intensity. The mask was gone. Chloe! She froze. The name, spoken by him, echoed in her ears. She turned slowly, her eyes meeting his. There was no mask to hide her now, only the raw vulnerability of her soul. Alexander walked towards her, his eyes fixed on hers. There was no anger, only love, regret, and a deep understanding. I know everything. Forgive me. I should have trusted you. Tears streamed down Chloe's face. She didn't need words, just his gaze, the truth in his eyes. She had finally been seen, finally understood. I had no choice. I had to protect them. Alexander embraced her, and embraced that promised forgiveness, healing, and a future. The secret that had separated them for so long had been unveiled, but love persisted. But the story doesn't end with a simple fairy tale ending. Their love, though true, had been marked by sacrifice, by pain, and by shadows. The choice was theirs, to build a future together, in the light of day, facing the challenges that would inevitably arise, or to accept that the beauty of their love resided in its prohibition, in the intensity of its secret existence. They talked for hours, their voices filled with plans, fears, and the promise of a new beginning. But Chloe, scarred by her past and aware of Alexander's life, made a final choice. A painful choice, but for her, a necessary one. I love you, Alexander, more than anything. But our worlds, they can't truly become one. My love for you is a treasure I will carry in the shadows forever. But I need to protect you, and I need to protect myself. Our love will always be a secret, Alexander. She kissed him, a kiss of farewell and of eternal promise. A kiss that carried the weight of an impossible love, of a final sacrifice. Alexander, understanding the depth of her decision, accepted. Not with joy, but with a painful respect. They would continue to meet, occasionally, in the shadows, the mask a reminder of the beginning of their love. A love that would never be fully revealed to the world, but that would remain vibrant and unbroken in their hearts. The final scene shows Chloe walking away, the mask in her hand, looking back at Alexander one last time. Alexander watches her figure disappear. Forbidden love in the shadows is a delicate dance between passion and sacrifice. It's the choice to love intensely, even when the world conspires to tear you apart. The story of Alexander and Chloe reminds us that love doesn't need labels, social validation, or even a known face. It needs two souls willing to connect, to sacrifice, and to carry the poignant beauty of a feeling that defies all rules. Sometimes, the truest love blossoms where it's least expected and remains strongest when kept a secret, a whispered melody that only the hearts of the lovers can hear. And so, in the city's shadows, their hearts continued to beat in unison, an eternal love, forever masked, forever true.